a little more global in how it's saying, instead of saying, is the content appropriate? But I think just the word it, meaning
Yeah.
it as a
For level
A
of
novel.
instruction, and then C is subject.
specific to the illustrations.
Your questions are getting to something we're gonna recommend at the end. It's a great question. It's something I think that Jimmy and Brian caught as well. Not that specifically. Now, once the decision's made, then any other appeals go through our FNG process. Now, just, D is for if it's an employee, and G is if it's for somebody who's not a parent. It's all, they're all similar processes. All right, now, so that's policy. Now we're veering away from policy and I'll brief you on how our librarians interpret and implement that policy. And so, Brian huddled with them, he's new. and so he'd be like, he's gonna talk to librarians and say, hey, I know how we do it in my old district, how you guys do it here? And so he talked to them, and so essentially, it mirrors what you saw earlier about making sure you have a wide range of things that mimic what policy says. For them, up-to-dateness is a big issue. I discovered in talking to Brian that that's just kind of one of the things we're always, because books that are on the shelf that are sold, nobody wants to use them, it's just taking up space. And so that, as a practical matter, is one of the things they spend time with. And then they think of there's curriculum-wide things. So for example, Holocaust remembrance, right? If we're hosting something, we know there's an event, they might order particular books that would be around that. Anything else to add to that, Jim?
No, just the second part there, grade level curriculum, if fourth grade puts in a more in-depth unit about biographies or something, they'll let the librarian know so that they can source and curate some novels to support any new units.
And that goes all the way up to the high school, or you're studying something or whatever, social studies. Now, as they're picking, how do you pick books, right? We were a lot of books.
Like the numbers, give the numbers.
I was shocked. Elementary was over 1,000 per year.
Per year.
High school were over 2,000 per
They
year.
read?
No, they buy new ones.
Oh, buy
And so
new
there's
ones.
standard library standards to,
Right.
get qualifications of the ranking of your library. And so those numbers are consistent with what we would want a top ranking library to be. So you buy 1,000 new titles, you have to curate and get rid of, as well. And so this is a big, big process. And so I mentioned the numbers.
It's kind of an underpinning as we kind of think about the next bond. We always build in, you think ahead, that these are bond dollars because that's the most efficient use of funds because of recapture. And so, based on the standards we have to, is it number or, I think it's number, right? So for a school your size, if you have a certain number, then that's a solid library. If you have less, you're not a solid library, that kind of thing. And so you project those standards, and then we work with Mike and the superintendent to build the bond and see how much money we have to have over a 5-year period to maintain that. And so as they're spending, they're within these, the bond kind of budget sets that. Little on that. Now, so as they're picking them, then, so the first thing is to think about, you got the Newbery Award winners, right? Those are the young, I don't know what else, there's a bunch of awards. And so as you see those, you're like, hey, I might want that for my library. The next thing you think as kids come in, especially I'm thinking of like the higher grades, right? You see those average grades, hey, do you have this book, do you have that book? And so they'll make notes of things to consider. Now, as they're doing that, they make sure that each book that they order has at least 2 favorable reviews from what they call a trusted literary journal. Now, what that in effect really means, I mean, think about it, you order 1,000 books, you're not gonna read every book. And so we order, Follett is a system both of selling books but also managing books. So when your child checks out a book and there's a scan and a barcode, that system is called the Follett system. So we've been using them I remember when we switched over to Follett. They also do big universities managing systems, and so this cart catalog and all that kind of stuff, that's Follett. They have a management part where you use that for inventory, but they also have a book ordering part. It's like a retail or whatever. Like, so, and so as the libraries use that source, it gives you reviews to see what the books are about. It gives you information about appropriateness. It gives you lots of information. There are a couple of, or a few other retailers they use, but they all use that. And so, spoiler alert, the degree, so if you're relying on a third party to help tell you information about what's appropriate or not, if that third party sometimes misses one, then you miss one. Now, moving forward, I'd like Jimmy or Brian to hop in on this.
Well, I'll start mine,
Okay,
and
yeah.
you follow up. So just moving forward, Frank did a good job of highlighting policy. Brian did a really nice job talking to librarians, just so we all understand their process. But just like Frank said, this year we need to tighten it up. It is under a spotlight. We do want to ensure that our kids do have a robust library, that it is reflective of the students at Alamo Heights, that it is up to date, but we have got to tighten up our book ordering process. And so we'll work with our librarians. This is also something that is not just occurring in Alamo Heights. So as Alamo Heights is tightening up our process, Follett is tightening up their process as well, which will help us. So a better process to vet our screening and clarify the process that one follows if they do want to challenge one of our books. The informal process, because again, we have not done this before. So when Corey walked through the informal process this year, that was the first time we've done this. And so making sure all of our deans, our campus administrators are familiar with what do you do when a parent does express some concerns about a book.
Just out of curiosity, what's the rate that students check out books today versus what they did 10 years ago?
It's a great question. We'll get some info. I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm just trying to figure out.
I would love to know that,
I would love to know that.
Yeah.
if we can get that.
We sure have a lot of books.
That's what I'm saying, we ordered 2,000 books, I'm thinking. I mean,
Are they being
30
checked
years
out?
ago, I think I checked out 3.
Mhm.
I know from talking to Joe's over at the junior school that
To hang out or check out
Yeah,
books?
so that's
I think it's both.
yeah.
I would imagine the popularity would change per campus.
Mhm.
Younger
Yeah.
campuses would be more
I'm
popular.
just, for all I know, that the curriculum requires them to check out this book or that book, and so I don't know, I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how much is it really, used in today's world of, if I want a book, I just order it online.
I think it's
Great question.
pretty simple to get
Download the digital
circulation numbers,
version.
Yeah.
Make it-
Can I ask two questions, and perhaps things to consider
Yes.
while we're going through it? Is there an appeal process in the policy currently for a non-complainant? The appeal process I saw was just appealed by the complainant, but if there's another parent who disagrees with the decision to remove that book or not remove that book, is there a process for that parent? So just to think about,
Great question.
Mhm.
and then also,
Someone to join into it.
or just to disagree with it. If
Or
a
yeah.
parent goes through the formal process, says, I want this book removed, and our process agrees, yes, the book should be removed.
Someone
A
else.
third
to
party
join in.
parent says, wait a second, I don't agree with that.
I see what you're saying.
So a process to reinstate a book, whatever that may be called. And on top of that, is there notice at all that the book has been removed? Like, do we give notice to the community?
Or that it's been added.
Or that
by
it's been added? Sure, yeah, I mean, that's, yeah. Or, these are the books that have been
That
added
have been
during
purchased.
the last year. I'm just thinking of like, we go through this and it's not intentionally, but it's kind of in this little hole over here and it's done it, and it's a decision that impacts thousands of kids, thousands of other community members. And do they have notice that they've been impacted?
Good question. Great.
To me, the tightening up of the purchasing is where it's at, right? Like, we wanna make sure that we're making good decisions about the books that are in the library, first and foremost, to avoid all of that, but I'm on the considerations that you guys have. All right,
And you guys are just, that our librarians are very serious about their work.
Mhm.
And so, I always have to be careful when I say, golly, you know a lot of books. Hold on a second. And they'll, Lori Baum will retire. But what she was the best at, and she would like give you a lecture about how important it is to have so many books and how kids read that kind of thing. Okay, got it. So I just wanna it's
It's
important.
sensitive.
They
probably
work
take-
hard
yeah.
at their jobs, yeah. Right.
Thank you for that
Thank you.
presentation. Would you
Include that Alamo Heights School.
yeah, because that was really helpful. That was a great overview.
Do it right now.
Are you ready to get out of the hot seat now?
Frank's never been in a hot seat.
Yeah, okay, we're moving into long-range planning committee. Hey, David, you're gonna miss your dog walking the stage?
No, I've got 15 minutes, maybe 10.
Okay.
Walking the stage.
Skip the board.
And you go
It's her birthday also. I was like, well, I can't miss that one.
So,
Let's say word.
yeah, we just got.
Being a burger.
You ready?
Yep, let's go.
All right, you all, first, you all saw that I shared with you just a compilation of your input around our board protocol. And we're not gonna get into that today, we'll kind of unpack that in one of our future meetings, but, I think it's important for you to have it, just so you can kind of look at it and you can say to me what folks appreciate most about this team, and then some areas of improvement, just as far as reflection, that we remain that high functioning team that we want to be. Last time I told you that part of that feedback, and you would have seen leadership. And so I'll have, 5 or 10 minutes at our long range to kind of reconnect us to that calling too. So last time I did share with you that we would at this meeting kind of go around and just talk about our why to serve, just as a way to kind of get to know who's in these seats and who we're serving with, if that makes sense. And then I thought we would just review the core values. I did a learning piece with you, I think 2 years ago, just about the importance of leaning into core values when we are in the metaphor of the arena, and taking on the important and hard work that we take on. So I think it's important for us to kind of just spend a minute also just acknowledge. Set my little timer here for 15 minutes, and I'm gonna try to keep us within that 15 minutes that we stay on agenda. Another piece of input that we got is that it is important for you all as professionals for us to end this meeting at 9.
Okay.
9?
About these guys?
Not
Okay, right. So my why is that I believe passionately obviously love Alamo Heights as an alum, but I believe in public schools, and I believe that making them better is key to making a community stronger and better. And then, I do have a lot of just kind of reverence and love for teachers too, because as a former teacher, so being able to be a support to them, that's my why.
nicely done.
Okay.
I like it. Set the tone,
All right.
set the parameters.
Okay, good.
Succinct. Appreciate it.
Good.
Clay, talk to us a little bit.
Okay, my why is because what got me involved was, obviously my knowledge of construction, and we seem to do a lot of that. And so I felt like I could be a good team member in helping that out. My other why, so I really had 2 whys, and the other thing is that I was always against private schools. I was a champion for public schools because that's what I did, and I turned out just fine. And so, I think anybody else could I'm just big on public schools. And my other, I really have a big heart for kids. I just love being around kids. I know, I mean, I've coached these kids for years, 10 years, Brian and I both. And I just love being around the kids. I love, being, their mental health to me is so important, and I think it's something that I feel like our generation has, put this added pressure on these kids. And I just want, I want to be there to stand up for the kids and try to take that pressure off it. So my why is to do what I can to lessen the pressure for our children.
I'm gonna go to Lisa, because she says, Dana, don't forget me, I'm here. So we're going to you, Lisa, so I don't forget you.
Yeah, I'm like, geez, you just hopped right over me. I know, I'm just.
I know, you were supposed to be right here. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, because I think sometimes my life seems, people ask me all the time, why are you still in the school board? You don't have anybody in the district anymore. And, of course, when I started on the board, I did, because I came at school. But the reason I continue to serve is because I do think it's important to have someone who's maybe more objective, who isn't caught up in the day-to-day, but not
You've rotated out a little bit. Start.
what?
You cut off it day to day.
Oh, day-to-day?
You
Yeah,
cut off.
You
You
cut
said
off,
someone who is more objective, not caught up in the day-to-day.
and then it
Oh,
dropped.
because I said you guys get a lot more phone calls, I'm sure, than I do about, and get caught up in, this is my close friend, and they feel this way, and I have to go to battle for this person because they're my friend. I just think that I try to be objective and think about all parties that are involved, and of course, keeping, the student body and what's best for everybody at the top, and trying hopefully bring a lot of institutional knowledge on what we've done in the past, and, we can't let that get lost. And so sometimes I think I'm able to provide the why. And then lastly, just because of my, post-empty nester career working with college, getting kids college ready, I have a different perspective on that. And, most of the kids that we work with hope to do some type of after high school, whether it's college, junior college, whatever that is. And so I have a lot of insight on that and what we can do to make sure our kids are in the best position for that. So that's my why.
Thanks, Lisa. David?
Totally forgot we were doing this today, so I'm trying to scramble and write this down. But I remember when Kat and I decided to move back to San Antonio, and the motivating factor was we really love this community. Like, we just do. We both grew up here. The diversity of friendships that we had, like the value that we got from it, and it's not perfect, but no relationships are, and we just love the community. And so when we move back home, it's like, well, if I love the community, like, what's one thing we all have in common? The school, right? We all have that in common. Whatever our opinions are, whatever our socioeconomic backgrounds are, we've all got it in common. And so for me, it was like a no-brainer. I want to serve my community because I love it so much, so I want to serve on the school board. And I hope I exhibit these qualities when we say that love is patient and love is kind. And people may not always agree with me, but I always want them to say he was patient, he was kind, he was respectful. I did or did not get the outcome I wanted, but there was love in the process. And so I hope that comes through. I don't know if it always does, but definitely my service is marked by a love for the community.
Yeah, right?
So I would say the same thing. I mean, as an alum, I think it's pretty cool that there's 3 of us on this board. I am just super passionate about kids and about just loving all of the students and teachers around us, and making sure that we are giving everyone the best opportunity they possibly can have. I do believe in our public school systems. I do believe that it is our duty to ensure that every kid is educated academically so that they can excel no matter what the path moving forward for them is. I feel strongly about just being a listener and voice in the community, that they, that people will, trust in us to do the right thing. So I'm here for the kids, and I'm here for our public school systems because I believe in them.
So
I
my,
need to have you like write this all up, this is powerful. I'm trying to capture it, but I don't know how to do this. All right, Brian.
my why began as a continuation of my work on the school foundation. And I think during that time, we worked hard, Carrie was there too, to just optimize the resources and the opportunities for our students. And so it felt good flowing from there into here. My wife's changed a little bit over the last year, 18 months, and it's something similar to Lisa's, where having objectiveness in the seat, I think, is really important, and I think I'm objective, but to continue to have objective voices to represent, to be able to be 80 to 90% of our community that we often don't hear from, don't get lost.
My wife started philosophically public education. I was raised by two teachers and was always involved in public education debates and conversations. And I remember reading Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America, and he came to America to study our prison system, and he came away from America with the idea of what set America apart and gave this young nation its best chance at being something truly spectacular was our public education system, that was unique to the world. And it was a chance that actually gave a possibility of true equality. And I think that is still the role of public education. I think it is our best chance to produce the best citizens that will eventually produce the best republic. And we're going to have ups and downs, but I think that's critical. So that philosophically, that's why I got into it. Here, I wasn't raised in Alamo Heights, but it is not unlike the school district I grew up in. The good and the bad, or the challenges and the positives. And I think that why I stay and what I do is, especially over the last couple of years, it seems that public education is under such attack for political reasons, I think, especially right now, you're seeing it in these culture wars that I think are being manufactured. Issues are being created that don't really exist. And I think right now is a time where for, school boards and educators that we've got to stand strong. I mean, right now political winds are blowing, and I think we have to stand strong. So that's my current why.
Powerful, no, right?
Yeah.
Kind of gives me goosebumps. So I appreciate you kind of thinking through that and articulating that. I really think I might have you just write that up, because I think that's really powerful for us to have as a team as we walk through.
Your turn.
Oh, you're gonna make me do it? Yeah. Well, my why is about, I really wasn't gonna do it, but that's funny, so I'm gonna.
You get paid, unlike us.
I do get paid, so I'm making some big dollars. That has nothing to do with why I did this. Let me clarify that. My why is about my core value, making a difference, right? And my other core value about faith. Like, I feel like I'm here for a reason. Passionate about education. My mom was a teacher, my dad was a coach. That's all I knew growing up. And professionally, I grew up here. Like, I'm getting emotional talking about this. So I just feel like it's my contribution back to all I've been given in this district is to serve here. And there's no better place to serve. When I talk about this in our superintendent group, I talk about this, my journey being one that's a professional journey, but also a personal journey with my kids being in this district. And so when I no longer feel like I'm making a difference here, it will be time for me to move along. So that's my why. Thanks for putting me on the spot and making me emotional. So we're not going to have time to get into the values, but I am going to send you a couple questions to reflect about your values and what you notice in our team for the next time we meet. Okay? So
Real quick, one of mine is wrong. It's not simplicity, it's serenity.
Serenity. I'm sorry, I will
That's
change
okay.
that.
I meant to email you.
You got a problem with simplicity?
I didn't until you put it down.
Do you know what? It's so funny you say that, because I remember you were one of the first ones that turned it in, and I thought serenity. Well, that's really interesting for what we're walking through, because I don't know if you have much serenity during our meetings and during our, but I do remember that now.
I actually asked people to do it. Yeah, I just see how other people perceive me, right?
Okay,
Getting back.
we are good.
Well done. All right, we're going to our survey of drug and alcohol use.
Yeah, so I'm back up, we do this every so many years, but we always come to the trustees and put the questions out so that you have a heads up about what is going out to students and then how we use this data, so.
Right, I believe you guys had a PDF of the survey questions along with an FAQ. I made a paper copy if you needed one, but to go back to context, the state of Texas puts forth funds to do this as a state, and they do representative samples. And if you participate, they will give you data on your representative sample for your school. So it's not everybody, but it's whatever statistical calculation says it is. And it doesn't cost us anything. Now, we participated not last year because the pandemic was just too weird to do it in. They do it every 2 years. So we participated in 2 years before that, so I imagine that to be 2018. And what it does is it gives us a representative sample of junior school kids and of high school kids with a variety of behaviors associated with drug and alcohol use. Now that data helps to inform our work. Kat's the lead on this, Kat Witter. It helps her to just kind of understand what's out there and to kind of adjust and set goals for the various things we do at all the campuses. And so it's important though that you got a sense of what the questions were and how it works. Now, the way it would work is the window opens from December to May. So the last time we did it, it's actually A&M, it's housed at A&M, so we work with them. And what they do is they pick, depending on the size of the class, it's usually about 6 or 8 classrooms. And that's your representative sample. So you send them the whole list and they randomly pick those. And then they tell us that gives us a representative sample. Then all the parents of the kids in those classrooms, once we set a date, get a form and they have to opt into it. So they have to say, yeah, I want my students to participate in this, or they say, I don't want my students to participate in this. And if they don't, then they go somewhere else. If they do, then they participate. Those surveys are, if it's paper copy, it's all put in envelope and sent back, but I think it's gonna be electronic just because they developed that capacity, it's a little easier on us. And then we get the results. Takes a while to get the results, and so we generally get them, we go over them, and then we present back to you guys sometime in the fall. Any other questions about the process, if we decide to go through with this?
You did, I remember looking at these questions and you sent them, but was it separate from the board book?
It was, I submitted my update.
Okay, cause I remember looking at them and then I know I'm.
It was one PDF with questions at the front and an FAQs at the back.
Okay, so clarification on the timeline. You said this would be given in,
Well, we have to decide. Last time we did it, we work with the department, so like at the high school in general, it was the social studies
right,
volunteers to do it. And at the elementary, at the junior school, they rotate, so last time it was science. So we just say, hey, when's gonna work best for you, so we kind of project forward. Now, what's weird is it's not all the classes, so it doesn't, on the one hand, it's not all the classes, so that's nice. But on the other hand, it's kind of hard. But we just ask them, and so last time we did it in April and May.
okay, because my question was, why would you come back in the fall? I thought we'd get the presentation for them before the end of the year, but no, okay.
Yeah, so because the window is December to May, we don't get the data until they hold all the statewide data. Because we get reports on the state as well as that, because they do comparison. So we don't get the data, we don't get those. All right, any other questions? All right, so if nobody sees any red flags, we'll start the process. I promise you nobody likes to do it in December through February, they usually pick the push offs.
So I love this thing, and I remember when we've done it in the past, and just a reminder on how we keep the information, stripped of personally identifying information and that kind of thing. And it still had to be useful. I mean, I know we probably can't do that and still get information on your situation at home or
Yeah.
your socioeconomic status or anything like that.
Yeah, A&M actually de-identifies it from the get-go, and so, they're just, what we send them is not names, we send them numbers. So we'll say, we have these many classrooms, third period, and so they take numbers. So it's, yeah, it's not even, it's not identified at the front end at all. Good question.
Are there vaping questions on here?
I believe so.
Yes.
When was that sent out? I can't find it.
Was last
Yeah.
Friday.
last week.
Who sent it?
I can
Dana.
reset, I
From
sent it.
Dana.
Dana.
It was in the week that I found it now.
I got you.
I don't see,
Did you have it, Glenn?
I don't see vaping on there, but am I missing it?
Texas School Survey Instrument?
I remember
That
we
it?
got data about vaping.
Yeah, electronic vapor products.
It's a state required opportunity.
No, it's not
It's not-
required.
it's
We
a state
voluntarily
opportunity.
joined this program that A&M has put together and collects all the information.
You said by A&M, and obviously the survey responders are told that. I mean, they understand that when they're answering.
It doesn't change from year to year, but it's a forms out a lot of information, but essentially explains what the process is, and the parent says yes or no.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Sweet.
We did, yes, we had a special call.
Yep.
To get campus, yeah.
Right. Special call meeting of the Board of Trustees. Item 1, recommend for action, canvass the November 2nd election results.
Here's a recap of
Thank you.
the votes.
And
It's just simple,
Bacon,
changed over the years, but the board just has to approve the report given to us by the county elections division.
It's an undervote.
Undervote means they didn't vote on this proposition, so.
Says nothing. Probably because of the way it was written. You know? They probably thought, oh gosh, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the report?
I'll take it.
Got a motion to approve?
You got it, I got it.
And us 5 voted for it. So just everyone except Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
David.
Right, thank you.
Right.
You can't vote when if you're online.
Okay, I want this, date on record, because if you look, it is, 8:44, and we're done.
It's not 8:44 because we
Oh,
went
it is
into our
not
meeting at
8:44.
8:45.
We did.
So it is 8:46.
Thank you. I was actually thinking that too, Ryan, I was missing, all right, we could have taken a stretch break.
Yeah.
But what,
But then
I thought you have audit?
we did,
We
so,
do,
but
so.
not the whole team, it's just the audit.
Are
Oh.
we going in executive session or no?
We're not, we did not have it.
So
We,
we're
that's
done.
just
Y'all are
stuff
done.
on the
Okay.
executive.
Oh.
We just put that, but we're not going to.
Oh.
So we will address it.
So we're done.
We are done.
We are done, we're on the audit committee.
Roll.
And I told them that I was still in.
Great. Yes.
Um,
He's not, Phil is not here yet, so we'll take a quick
Yeah,
break.
we can take a break till 9 o'clock.
okay, I have a